Awakening, the journey of awakening. It's a crazy, amazing, full-on journey, as most of us know that are on it. But a cute little metaphor that I was explaining to my mum today, just sort of comparing the journey of the human, going through this ascension, going through this awakening, coming into a higher perception, becoming a lot more conscious. And it's definitely a journey, and you sort of lose yourself. You sort of dismantle yourself. You come out of yourself. You see yourself for what you are. You can see that you were just the personality is just a construct, and it's just made up of all these conditionings, labels, and you're trapped by your human feelings and emotions and your thoughts. And that's the first part of the awakening. And anyway, so as you go through this journey of slowly awakening and remembering and discovering self on all different levels, I like to think of it like, well, once you go through it, then you sort of have to put yourself back together, right? And it's a very tricky process. Not everyone can go through this process, and because for many reasons, but like a metaphor that I like to use, and I think explains it quite well on some levels, on all levels really, is it's like a watch, right? Just so you get a little wristwatch, and back in the day, or watchmakers, or those little inventors and people that just like to tinker, they just imagine you've got this watch and you pull it apart, and you see how it works, and you look at all the little bits and pieces, and then you put it back together, right? You put it all back together, and then you look at your watch. Like, what have you learned, really? Like, not much has changed. The watch still tells the same time. It doesn't look any different to anybody else. No one else can see any difference. But to you have ripped that watch apart. You have cleaned it out. You've cleaned the little bits and pieces. You've seen how this little mechanism works. You understand. To you, the watch does not just tell you the time anymore. You can see so much more. You understand how it functions and how it tells the time, how this device actually works, because you've dismantled it and then had to put it back together so it can function again. And it's kind of akin to the awakening process. You dismantle it. You dismantle yourself. You lose yourself. You lose your lower self. You lose your ego. But then you have to sort of put it back together. And then you can reshape yourself the way you want to be. No one else knows what's going on. No one else can really see this process. It's an inner process. It's an inner journey. And yeah, that's my little awakening and watch concept. Metaphor, really. But I think it's a good one because, there's many levels and stages to this journey, and it's really, it's just as hard putting yourself back together as undoing yourself. It's just as tricky. Not many people talk about that, because putting yourself back together and trying to function in this reality or in your new reality is tricky in itself. So, it's not for the faint-hearted, and the ego, that lower self, really needs to be clear and clean and integrated and dissolved. Because if it isn't, as you touch these higher realms, these higher densities, these higher dimensions of existence, as this earth keeps shifting, and as we all are playing catch up, the harvest is here, so to speak. As this happens, things are going to intensify. And if you still have ego, if you still have residue, if you still have heavy identification going forward, it will make the journey, it will have that lens, that distortion of whatever identity or drama or blockage or residue you have within your mind, within yourself, any pains that you're holding on to, any traumas that haven't been resolved, that haven't been forgiven, that haven't been let go. If these things are within you, playing in your mind, or even suppressed, as you're touching these levels, we're all progressing, it can be quite a rough journey. So to avoid that self-work is really necessary, and that real self-honesty, because you're not competing against anyone. You're playing a game with yourself. Remember that reality is a mirror for what's going on within you. You want to change what's going on, change yourself, look on the inside. Look on the inside just means take some time for yourself, away from everyone else, every day. Go and be with nature. Be with yourself. Be even with your own thoughts. Put the phone down and just be with yourself. It's important.